Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. If you're a brain rotten weeb like me, your first exposure to this phrase was probably a little game called Persona 3. It's basically the theme of that game. You will die. That's unavoidable. So you should be living your life to the fullest. Face your fears, burn your dread, so that when you die, you can be content with what you did with your life. But you know, that's a lot when you're like a child. It's also like a 100-hour JRPG, and sometimes you just want to sit down and be hit with existential dread in 2 hours. As much as I joke, death is something that pervades life, sometimes to a crippling extent to some people. It hurts to lose others. It's scary not knowing what's going to happen. So in a way, it's easier to just not live at all, because at least then, you have less to lose. That's the mentality of Haruki in I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. He has no real interest in people, thinking he'll only be hurt by them, or he'll hurt them back. He has no friends, and lies to his parents about having them so they don't worry about him, to minimize the negative emotion everyone feels. The film doesn't spend much time explaining how he arrived at this mindset, because in the end, the reason why doesn't actually matter, because it would all lead to the same outcome. He gets shunned by his classmates for his antisocial behaviour, but that doesn't matter, because he much prefers his fiction to people. He can predict stories, people are too messy. I've called him Haruki, but the film waits till the very last moment to even reveal his name.
I never did ask you what your first name is.
Because it gives you something to latch onto, some identity. Besides that, he's a blank slate. He doesn't really live, he just exists, going about his day as if his life won't end. That is, until he meets Sakura. Sakura is the opposite of Haruki. When Haruki would steer away, avoid conflict, Sakura jumps in to help. She's interested in gossip, while Haruki's interested in the more serious questions of life. She's popular, energetic, bubbly. She's the stereotypical manic pixie dream girl. But there's a certain catch that I've purposely not mentioned. Sakura is diagnosed with severe life-threatening pancreatitis. She's going to die. And it's sooner rather than later. A lesser person would fall into despair at this. They might decide if their life is going to end, that they'll go and do something big. They might ask themselves,
with the little time you have left, are you sure you want to spend it here?
but Sakura decides those aren't the sorts of things she wants.
Then what do you suggest I do instead of this, huh? You could possibly die from a freak accident tomorrow for all you know. So the way that I'm going through life right now is really no different than the way you are. Each day is worth just as much as the one before it. That's why the value of today doesn't change based on how I spent my time. To be honest, doing normal stuff like this is almost as fun as doing anything else.
She wants to live with dying. She finds joy and value in the little things. Listening to music, eating sweets. She isn't going to let this condition stop her from being a normal high school girl. She doesn't tell anyone about it, because she doesn't want them to think of her differently. Well, besides Haruki, since she knows he won't dance around it, he'll treat her normally still. She puts on a brave face, even if she's terrified of what's coming. Both Haruki and Sakura know she's going to die. At multiple points, they're reminded of it, that the time they have together won't last forever. But they just ignore it. Haruki doesn't want to answer what he'll do if Sakura is scared of dying, because he doesn't want to think about how she will die. They don't let it get to them, but they also fail to address that root issue. It's a scary thought that someone you care about will be gone. It's far easier to simply push it away than really consider it. And as death becomes closer, you begin to run from that idea more and more. Sakura knows she's going to die, but still clings to others more and more as it becomes closer. She knows it'll make it harder for them when she goes, but she just wants to feel normal. She wants to feel okay. She finds someone that's special to her, and she's special to him. She can see a short-term future with him. They have plans for good times together, before she dies on her own terms.
17-year-old Sakura Yamauchi. Someone in the neighborhood found her lying on the street, bleeding from a deep stab wound.
In the end, it's not her condition that kills her. It has no real bearing on how she goes out. Sakura dies in a freak event. Sakura trees bloom all at once. They burn brightly, but ultimately, that just makes them burn out all the faster. I was close to my great-grandmother. She would look after me a lot as a kid, really as long as I can remember. She had a big block of land, and she let my parents build a house there. I remember my time with her fondly, but also remember the last time I saw her. My friends and I organised a friend's birthday party a few years ago, and because I am, and my friends are all dumbass 20-somethings, we had left most of the prep till the last minute. After wandering around Kmart for about an hour, failing to find what we really needed, and coming up with a backup plan, driving to my mate's house to find he was still asleep, I got a call. It's really all a blur in my mind. I raced home to get my brother. It started to rain, and we went and saw her. There was a certain tranquility, but also an eeriness to it all. I won't really forget that, but I didn't really have much time to think about it. I had to go back and pull together some dumbasses to get stuff ready. It didn't stop raining that day, but in the end we got there. We went down to the pub, saw a guy get chased with a metal pipe. You know, average Australian pub. But I hadn't really thought about it until a few weeks later, and I haven't really cried as hard since. I wasn't a perfect grandson. I thought I knew better a lot of the time. I never really got to apologise for some of the things I did, and I'll never be able to. Haruki had things he wanted to say to Sakura, but he was just too apprehensive. You get the impression early on that Haruki has feelings for Sakura, but is just scared of voicing them. He feels unworthy because he can't compare to Sakura. He knows deep down he can't protect her, that he will hurt her, and when he does, he blames himself for it.
If I'd kept them myself, nobody would have gotten hurt. You should just forget about me. Go spend more time with people who actually care about you, like your ex-boyfriend and Kyoko.
That he can't bring himself to care or express himself to her. He's just a coward that's scared of getting hurt. Even if she accepts him now, he still feels he won't be truly accepted if he said what he wanted to. The irony is that out of all the people she knows, Sakura accepts Haruki the most. Because to her, Haruki is the only person that really knows her.
I'm really happy that you're here with me right now. More than you'll ever know. If you don't mind. Even if it's only a bit longer. Will you please stay with me?
He'll hurt her because of that. But that's just part of life. Living is about reaching out to others, even if it will hurt. Because if you're always alone, how do you know you exist? How are you anything without other people? You can live your life alone, but that isn't living. You won't be hurt, but you also won't enjoy the life that people can bring you. Sakura teaches Haruki that.
Stop reading books so often. Use that time to interact with more people.
He gains some will to live outside himself and his family.
Despite the way I look or act when we hang out, I'm worried about you.
He hopes for the future. He wants Sakura to live. But in Sakura's eyes, Haruki saved her too. He gave her someone to share her final days with the full knowledge of her condition. Someone to lean on when things got rough. That won't judge her and treat her differently for what was coming. That would see Sakura for Sakura. It lets her live her life to the fullest. To live her life with death in mind. That one day she won't be able to do what she wants, but not let that cripple her. She gets to truly live, in a way that we all should.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks for what?
People tend to get so caught up in life, they don't really consider what they'll do in the event that something happens, making them unprepared. Haruki expected it, yet still wasn't fully ready. Life is a series of chances, stacking up over and over. You can choose how you take those chances. We're all born strangers. But over time, by connecting and making choices, we can become a someone to each other. It can be scary letting that happen, but you need to do it. Because a life without others isn't a life at all. You should appreciate that time you have with them, because you don't know when that's going to end. There's many superstitions around what happens when you eat an organ. That eating another person lets them live on with you. That if you have a liver problem, eating a liver will solve it. Sakura wants to live her life with Haruki, to not have it cut short. she expresses this to him, knowing she won't be able to if she waits. And Haruki wants to live with her too. But if he could, he would also take her place. Even if it was something that he was scared of telling her. But Haruki learns from this. He mourns, he feels pain, but does what Sakura would have wanted from him. He'll live for himself, but let others in to achieve that. In a way, he did eat Sakura's pancreas, because he won't forget the time he had with her, how she helped him change. He'll remember her death, but also that one day he'll be in the same position, and that when that day comes, he wants to have lived his life how she did, with no regrets. Remember, you will die. People die. But that's okay, because you aren't dead yet. I want to thank my patrons, who for only $2 Aussie a month, support what I do, and get their names featured at the end of the video like they are now. So thank you. You make this content possible. Now, I know this is 2 videos in a row where I don't have a shit post at the end, and I have a supplementary thing to what I just talked about. I had an ex, and she wanted to watch this movie because she heard it was sad, and I'm like, oh, okay. I think I'd watched it like 2 times at this point. So we're watching it, and then, you know, the film has a lot of like... And she was getting a bit into it. And then Sakura died. She didn't really realize what was happening. And she thought she was going to die at the end. But like, she dies with like 20 minutes left of the film. So she got so surprised, she just like burst into tears. So yeah, that day was fun. This movie blocked me. Anyway, have fun.